Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to this part 3 of a 3-part series that I've entitled The Fountain, or The Ultimate Fountain Pen Vacation. Indeed, for those of you who have not joined me in part 1 and part 2, this summer I took a vacation, went to Europe, and in the context of a cruise I visited several cities, 3 of which formed the object of my 3-part series, where I visited total about 13 different fountain pen related destinations in 3 cities. Part 1 deals with Naples, where I interviewed Nino Marino and visited his Delta factory, also Maiora, Nettuno, and Marchiaro. And part 2 deals with 6 locations or destinations in the beautiful city of Rome, one of my favorite cities. And part 3, which is the object of this particular episode, will review 6 destinations in the beautiful center of the arts, as I call it, the city of Florence. So you know that in part 1, part 2, it's been a Grail Pen Odyssey. Will that Grail Pen Odyssey continue into Florence? Well, here's Florence, folks. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're all set for Florence. Well, how does it all go down? Well, of course, at this point, the ship and the cruise we're on has essentially come to an end. Florence is really the last stop before we go back to Rome and disembark and go back to Canada, of course, and return. So Florence is a 2-day stay for the ship, and rather than go back and forth, because the ship of course docks in Livorno, which is the closest port, which is about an hour and a half away, rather than go back and forth, my wife and I decided to stay in Florence overnight. So we trekked into Florence from Livorno, took the train, very comfortable, air conditioned, got into Florence, and took a cab to our hotel, checked in, and then started our stay. So let's go to my map and see where that is. So here is that map. Now, let's start with Borghese Palace Art Hotel. That's our hotel. A very pleasant hotel, I've got to tell you. We were kind of lucky both in Rome and here. Managed to get something which is really, really close in the center of Florence, of course, in the center of the major sites, Florence. And I'm putting up some pictures of the hotel. Very pleasant. They checked us in immediately as we arrived. In fact, we got early check-in, not a problem, failing which they were prepared to take our bags, waiting for our room to be ready. But no, the room was ready, so all is well. We checked in, just refreshed a little bit, had a little coffee, and then headed our way down to Piazza della Signoria, which was literally minutes away, and Piazza and Palazzo Vecchio. You see here several pictures that we took. The famous Palazzo Vecchio, where we have statues outside, even the kind of a replica of David. Beautiful, beautiful piazza, one of the most gorgeous piazzas in the world, in my view. And So we visited both those, took some pictures, and then my wife headed off immediately to Ponte Vecchio to take a look at some of the jewelry shops they have there, and I decided to go to SIGNUM Florence. So SIGNUM Florence is the first fountain pen related destination, and let's check it out. Here it is. This is SIGNUM Firenze. It specializes in notebooks, paper. There is some pens in here, but we shall see. We'll enter and we'll see all kinds of beautiful decorations for my future videos, I suspect. But let's go in and see. So that was SIGNUM Florence. And if we go back to my map, you can see that SIGNUM Florence is right at the edge of the Ponte Vecchio. So I walked to the Ponte Vecchio, crossed Ponte Vecchio, which is beautiful. Here are some pictures of that bridge, iconic bridge. Keep in mind, my wife's still there now shopping for jewelry. Great, looking for a watch for my son. She's looking for some gold products, etc., etc., etc. So she's still there. She's having a great time. I decided to instead skip all that and go straight to PINART, Firenze. So that's my next stop, and here it is. This is the PINART boutique. Right, I noticed they have pens. Many types. And they also have VISCONTI's, of course. They also have notebooks. So take a look. Giorno. Okay, so that was PINART Firenze. Again, two stores which were interesting, but no product haul per se. Keep in mind, and I think that's one of the mistakes I may have made in this Florence trip. I should have gone to CASA DELLA Stilografica right away, and then maybe returned there. Because, you visit these shops and then you hesitate because you haven't visited the key store that you think you may be purchasing something. So it's kind of, do you look at everybody else first and then go to Casa Stilografica, or do you go there first? In hindsight, I should have gone there first. Everything is fairly close by, walking distance. Check out the scene the way I did with Novelli, and then maybe visited the other stores and then can't come back. But having said that, I finished SIGNUM Florence. I finished PINART. Let me go back to my map. So here's the map. I'm here right now, so I'm across the bridge here. And I agreed to meet my wife at Piazza or Palazzo de Pitti. And here's a picture of Palazzo de Pitti, because around there are several stores. My wife wanted to check some things out and wanted me to see some things. So she called me and said, look, why don't we meet at Plaza di Pitti? At the same time, we'll visit the plaza and we'll visit some shops. So that's what we did in between. And that's where we were at Piazza de Pitti. From there, as you can see, I took a walk. She went back to Ponte Vecchio and went back on the main Florence, if you will. And I decided to take the other way and headed towards PINEIDER. So I crossed the other bridge, and here is PINEIDER. Just skip away from Ponte Vecchio, but on the other side as well when you take the other bridge. So PINEIDER is next. Now, PINEIDER, of course, for me is a major destination. I know that the store where I'm going in particular has other products other than pens. So I wasn't sure whether I was going to get a pen store or a general PINEIDER store with bags and leather products, etc. So it was a surprise for me. And frankly, I was looking for one thing, which was that quill nib, to see what kind of pens they had. Most of them are very unaffordable because of that quill nib, but I thought maybe I'd strike gold. So next is PINEIDER. Stay tuned. Here it is. And it's, by the way, just to show you where it's situated, that's the PINEIDER store. That's one of the bridges, but the famous Ponte Vecchio is, of course, right there. Beautiful collections. We're looking at something with quill nibs right now. Lei come si chiama?
Martina.
Martina, grazie. I'm going to take a look at a quill nib, so I'll be right back. This is the PINEIDER broad quill nib that I've been looking for. Sold separately for roughly 300 plus euros. We're thinking about it, folks. We're thinking about it. Of course, they also have leather products. So, briefcases of all kinds. And they have beautiful paper, which we're all accustomed to. Grazie e forse ci rivediamo.
Noi siamo qua a disposizione.
Grazie, grazie.
Arrivederci.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
La porta sta qui. Yeah, that's the PINEIDER store. I find the pens are overly priced, so we're going to try to look at some other things. See if we can see some alternatives. Okay, so that was PINEIDER. A little bit of the disappointment, I think. The prices weren't great. The selection, yeah, they have their basic pens, but I also asked some questions to the to the person serving us, and she wasn't even aware that the quill bit, this quill nib existed. I had to show her which one. So it was a little bit of, I got to tell you, a little bit of a disappointment. I think the store sells something more than just pens. So I wasn't thrilled about my visit there, nor was I thrilled about the prices, frankly. I knew that most of the pens that I looked at can be purchased elsewhere for less, and I was really hoping to find them elsewhere. So again, nice visit. It was nice to be there in Florence, in the PINEIDER shop, where Dante Del Vecchio company, runs his show, so to speak. But unfortunately, no pen dolls. What do we do next? Well, let's go back to my map. So here's PINEIDER, and from PINEIDER, we decided to go back into the city. We stopped at a local restaurant there, not too far away from my next destination, and we had some lunch. We had some cold beverages, and then we each again proceeded on our own. She continued doing shopping. She's now looking for leather products. I've decided to go to Il Papiro, which was my next destination. Again, not sure it was really a fountain pen destination. Looked like more of a notebook and leather product destination, but here it is. Let's see what Il Papiro had to offer. Okay, we reached another store, which is Il Papiro. Again, specializing in paper, probably very little pens to speak of, but just some wonderful notebooks and paper and ink, and maybe calligraphy as well. You can see a lot of paper, but very little pens. Okay, so we're finished Il Papiro. Again, a little disappointing. Not coming out with anything, but of course, I know I'm going to see CASA della Stilografica and Visconti. So I'm kind of pacing myself, and I said to myself, you know what? There's not anything great here, so let's enjoy the scenery. Let's enjoy other shopping. Wife was very happy. She was having a great time. So let's go back to my map. A little change of plans here. After Il Papiro, we decided to go to a place called Fontana de Porcellino. I'll put up a picture here. You can see the kind of this big big, well, it's supposed to be a pig, but it looks more like a bull. And you know, at this fountain here, I don't know why they call it fountain. I didn't see any water, but this is kind of a landmark. It's kind of a little piazza where there's a lot of kiosks that sell leather products. And it was a key part because we did buy some beautiful leather products in Florence, of course. And they sell them much cheaper than, you know, the regular stores. And so, yeah, that's always a place we always visit. So that was Fontana del Porcellino. You saw some pictures. And after that, we went for dinner. And yeah, we kind of decided to go back to the hotel very quickly, take a shower because it was really warm. And in Florence, I think it was a little more humid than the other cities we had visited. So we took a shower, rested a little while, and then went back out for dinner. And dinner, we decided to go around Il Duomo area. We found a nice little a restaurant, which outside, some fresh air. It was kind of evening. Dusk was there. We see some pictures of Il Duomo and the cathedral with the, you know, the sun going down. Beautiful, just beautiful. There's a picture of my beautiful wife, and there's a picture of myself as well. Having dinner, we enjoyed dinner, walked back to the hotel, and of course, rested. We were completely exhausted, a complete and full day. But of course, personally, I was looking forward to day 3. I was exhausted, didn't do a lot of journaling that night, just went straight to bed and woke up nice and early because I knew I had CASA della Stilografica that was left, Visconti as well. And we had agreed, my wife and I, that we wouldn't stay the full day in Florence, not take any chances. We didn't want to miss the departure of the ship, which was, you know, the hour was 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We needed to get back. You know, given the train ride, sometimes the trains are delayed. We didn't want to take a chance. So we said we gave ourselves a limit. By 1 o'clock, we had to be in a cab, ready to go. So the following day, day 2, when we left the hotel, we checked out. We had breakfast, left our bags there, told the hotel manager that we would be back for our bags around 1. And he arranged for us to have a cab to drive us to the train station where we took the train and got back to the ship later that afternoon. So stay tuned for day 2. Well, here's the map. So here's the map, and Hotel Borghese is here, right here. We had to walk our way. Now this seems long, but it's a 19-minute walk, not the end of the world. You end up passing the Cathedral of Santa Maria with the Duomo again. Again, my wife went on a shopping street, and I left her and walked my way all the way to Casa della Stilografica. That was a major destination for me. We all are familiar, or you should be familiar with Casa della Stilografica. They great website, lots of nice products. I was hoping to find something there to entice me. So here's my visit to Casa della Stilografica. Stay tuned. This is Casa della Stilografica. In fact, they moved. I was afraid that maybe they were closed today, but today, Monday, I managed to catch one. So, brand new place. Gorgeous. Here we are. Very, very nice. Allora, questa avete cambiato posto, se non mi sbaglio, eh? Bello. Capito? Questa qui qual è di Visconti? Qual è? Mica la commedia questa?
Questa è Van Gogh, quella
Ah,
gialla.
la Van Gogh. Allora
quella
io...
gialla?
Questa è serie qui, insomma.
Sì, Van Gogh.
Su Van Gogh, allora,
sì,
è
questa
differente.
secondo me forse, come si chiama quella?
Sarà una nuova...
Dipinto, ogni dipinto di Van Gogh
Sì.
è sono
Differente della mia,
sì.
io sono una un po' più vecchia, allora è
sì,
differente,
è
differente, sì, sì. La commedia ce l'avete di Visconti, la nuova?
Sono... Vediamo se...
Sì, questa. No, questa è pure la Van Gogh.
No, non la vedo qui perché...
No. Lei il padrone?
Lui?
Buongiorno, io mi chiamo Vincenzo Guida,
Sì,
c'ho un canale YouTube, Fountain Pen Therapy.
Ah, sì,
faccio il giro di Roma, adesso Firenze. È il vostro magazzino, sicuro ho già comandato molto. Sì, faccia pure. Se la posso vedere, questa qui la mettiamo a posto.
O quella dal metro o
Steel, no, quel d'oro, quella prima. Che lei, se non mi sbaglio, la voglio comprare. Steel nib, sicuramente. Bella però. That's beautiful. Sì, questa è bellissima.
mi piace anche l'altra, sa.
Sì, è nuova, però. Questo l'ho visto in fattoria. Abbiamo visto l'acrylic, come lo fa. Nino me l'ha fatto vedere.
Se vuole usare questo qui,
Sì,
non
sì.
so se fosse
Sì,
meglio
sì, sì.
vedere quello.
E questa è la nuova Nettuno.
Sì. Buongiorno.
That's beautiful. Allora, devo scegliere.
Come effetti anche. Di Mario.
Marco o Mario?
Marco.
Marco. Look at these Namiki, folks. These are Marco's personal collection. Got a few Leonardo's as well. Personal Namiki collection. Look at this. This is the original Mont Blanc that Moonman copied. Moonman ce n'ha una come questa a $10. These are all limited editions. Look at this one, folks. Isn't that beautiful? This must be a Pelican M1000. Check out the resin on this thing. Isn't that gorgeous? Got these Namikis. Look at that nib. Just try to focus here on that nib. Not for sale, he said. And these are Leonardo's. Very nice. Okay, that's some footage of my visit of Casa della Stilografica. the end of the day, I had a chat with Marco, the owner. We've agreed to keep in touch. Took a little picture with Marco. He was very, very kind. He also, gave me. I did purchase something, and we'll get to it in a second. Gave me a very nice discount. I think 10% off my purchases. And of course, you notice from the footage, and I try to concentrate on that big Delta oversized Dolce Vita that was staring at me. And what impressed me the most, and I couldn't get the video because my wife wasn't with me to videotape, my touching the pens, etc. And I tried to put the camera on the side to film it, but I wasn't able to do it in any event. What I do want to say is that Dolce Vita was in my sights. But I got to tell you, it is a grail pen of grail pens in my mind. I will never stop until I get one. But that wasn't the one I was going to get. I want to get an original one, an old Delta oversized Dolce Vita with the original nib, with the original box. That's what I want. So it was staring at me, and I was impressed with the size, because when they say oversized, it really is oversized, much bigger than the DV2 and any Dolce Vita style pens that I have, including my brand new Napoli C that Nino Marino had just made for me. So it's a huge pen. And I think you could see it. Let me just put a photograph of, a still of the video, just to demonstrate how big it really is. So I was convinced once and for all that oversize is indeed oversized, different from what I have, and they're worthwhile hunting for. But I was not going to get a DV2 oversize. I want the original. So I had to look at some alternatives. What those alternatives are? Well, let's go to my overhead camera and I'll show you what my pen haul was at CASA Stilografica. Okay, the first pen I want to show you that I purchased is not a grail pen per se, but it was a pen that I had been meaning to purchase when I was back in Canada, regularly visiting the website of CASA. And I said to myself, where is that pen? I want to see it. So I asked him to take it out, and took a look at it. I really liked it. It was not, I mentioned an expensive grail pen, but something I wanted to look at. It was curious, and ended up purchasing it. And which one is it? Well, here it is. It's what they call 22 Studio. I think I've not seen this pen, advertised in any great deal from any other pen maker, but I thought it was really intriguing. I liked the shape of this pen. I liked this titanium cap. You open up the pen. I like the shape of the barrel. Really nice. It's got a Schmidt nib, and I took was it a fine that I ended up with? Yes, it is. A fine. So that was the first pen that raised my curiosity. And let me just take out my notebook, just give you a brief glimpse. So this is the curious name, 22 Studio, with the nib is a Schmidt nib, and this one is a fine nib. Well, we all know that I love Schmidt nibs, so I'm not going to bore you right now with the details. I will be reviewing this pen in great detail sometime soon. One thing I noticed is that I ended up smudging this pen. I'm not sure if this is going to be a permanent problem. I'm going to have to see if I can refurbish that, because if it is, it would be a great disappointment. But I'm going to be looking at this pen in greater detail and providing you with a a more detailed review. The next pen, in fact, the next two pens are Grail pens. And the next pen that I absolutely needed to look at was an Omas pen. Now, I've got Omas vintage pens, but I don't have a new Omas pen. And I said to myself, you know what, I need one. So I took the jump, and here it is. Okay, so the pen was this Omas Ogaiva. It's beautiful 14 karat gold nib. Took it in fine. Let's do some writing with it. So this is Omas Ogaiva demonstrator. And I'll get into the details of the nib and the pen when I review it in detail, but it's just a beautiful pen. I have since discovered, I was under the mistaken impression that when I was going to buy a fine nib, that in fact I would be getting that fine kind of soft flexi nib that Omas it has the reputation for. In fact, one of my vintage Omas pens does have that very soft, fine nib that flexes a little bit, and that's what I was expecting to get when I ordered this pen with that fine nib. In hindsight, when I went back on the ship and wrote with it, it's a pretty stiff nib, when all is said and done. The nib on this pen has very little give here. It's almost like a nail. So I was wondering what gives and whether or not these new Omas pens no longer have that flex or that soft nib. And what I discovered is that the new pens actually, you can order the nib in the flex version. So I wrote to Marco, and I expect to receive a reply sometime soon, because I think they are now on vacation, and said to him, look, I would love to have the flex nib. Can we switch it? Or worst comes to worst, can I buy the flex nib? And I'm waiting for him to get back to me, because I do want to put the flex Omas nib in this pen, unless it's clearly unaffordable. Hopefully Marco will be able to accommodate me in that regard. So that was the first Grail pen that I bought at CASA. What's the next one? Well, here it is. I was eyeing this pen. I think it briefly was videoed in my video that I took of the store. And I needed to get a Maiora, and the Maiora I chose was the brand new Maiora TI for titanium 22, which has this beautiful titanium Maiora nib. So this is the Maiora TI 22. And this fine nib is soft just because of the titanium in that nib. And to top it off, it is a number 8 size nib. I've been using it almost on a daily basis. I don't like the ink that's in here, and I'll talk about this ink in a minute. I think I'm going to replace it. I just don't like the wetness of that nib. Could be wetter. But still, very, very nice pen. So there you have it. The Ogaiva TI 22. So that essentially sums up the pen haul at CASA. The 22 Studio, the Omas Ogaiva, and the Maiora TI 22. There you have it. What's next? Well, it's Visconti. Let's see what Visconti gives. Okay, we now arrive to the Visconti flagship store in Florence. So, look at the door. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, so let's see what the shop has to offer. Buongiorno, vorrei presentarmi. Bellissimo. Sì, sì. This is Visconti, folks. Beautiful flagship store. We've got in the cases all their main models.
Yes.
The nice inks, which I all have. Beautiful.
New Medici.
That's the new Medici.
This is the collection to celebrate Florence.
Yes, 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 yes. Wow, that is
This year.
beautiful. That is
Yellow gold dreams. And the blue is the power of Florence is a blue and the
The color is nice too.
Yes.
The colors of Florence. Very nice.
the inside, like the bottom store.
Beautiful. The new Commedia. Ce l'ha qui.
Com'è?
Ah, that's it. So that's Visconti. Again, a little disappointing. Lots of nice eye candy, but completely overpriced. That's what I was expecting. So I'm so glad that I did purchase my Visconti Homo sapiens in Rome. I would have loved to have been able to say I bought it in Florence, the city where it was born, if you will. But you know what? In hindsight, got a good price. I don't regret my decision. I could have gotten it at CASA della STILOGRAFIca. I didn't even look at the price. Frankly, but Visconti, it was a nice visit. We had a nice chat with the woman who was, who was in charge of the store there. But I was not overly impressed, and frankly, I wouldn't buy any pens there because I can buy them somewhere else for much, much, much cheaper. And the only thing that I purchased, I wanted to purchase, but the woman was nice enough to give it to me as a gift, was this ink. I mean, I wanted a blue ink. They didn't have it. I wanted the turquoise Visconti ink, which I always like, at least in its old version. They didn't have it. I wanted a green. They didn't have it. They basically had this black. So I said I purchased this black. I do like the new bottles. Very nice bottle. I don't like the ink. I will be reviewing this ink. It's a little dry for my taste, which is something I wasn't expecting from Visconti. I just love the bottle. So that's a nice addition to my collection. So at the end of the day, I walked out with this ink given to me for free. So sorry, Visconti flagship, but again, disappointment reigns. I'm afraid to disappoint. So at the end of the day, Rome was not, Florence was not the greatest of hauls. But look, I came out with that Maiora titanium pen, and I came out with that Omas Ogaiva. Let's not forget. So there you have it. That completes Florence. We ended our day, or really our lunch, by eating at Italy, one of the Italy restaurants, which, you have one in New York, you have one in Rome, you have one all over the place. Very nice restaurant. We had a nice pizza, quick lunch, got back to the hotel, took our bag, asked for a cab. The cab drove us to the train station, took the train back, and back to the ship. And of course, being back at the ship, we knew that Rome was the next day. It was time to pack. But before I packed, I needed to get rid of all the boxes because those boxes would not fit in my luggage. And I wasn't about to buy new luggage and spend the extra money for that just because of those boxes. I chose to live without them, but I did tape them. I did do an unboxing. So each of those pens that I will be reviewing, forming part of my haul at the end of the day, will have an unboxing that will accompany those reviews. So when all is said and done, what were the pens that this beautiful vacation brought to my collection? Well, here they are. We have, and I will be adding, let me just put them in the order that I purchased them. Here we are. This is the pen haul from my ultimate fountain pen vacation. Two pens that were gifted to me by Nino Marino, in particular this Napoli C, 1 of 1, just dedicated to me. My Visconti Homo Sapiens, my Aurora Optima O Sole Mio, a vintage Aurora 88P, Magna Carta Mag 600 with that beautiful flex nib. Finally, a Scribo La Dotta to my collection, a Radius Settimo, a T22 Studio, a Maiora TI 22 Titanium, and a Omas Ogaiva. Those, folks, is my pen haul. Proud of it. Lots of money. I understand. Some of you may say, Vince, you went overboard. Yeah, I did. But it was stronger than me. Look, I have the means. So I chose to exercise those means. I saved up for a long time. I had not purchased an expensive pen. I had stopped with my Pelikan M1000, knowing perhaps that the time would come, and the time came. I could not resist. I needed to purchase those pens in my country of origin. And I have chosen the pens that were in my sight, other than the Delta Dolce Vita oversize. But again, I repeat, I wouldn't have been able to find one. I should have asked Nino Marino in hindsight, but maybe I will. I will ask him to get me one. But I want to pay for it. But, get me one in good condition. Maybe he has some contact or something. I'm going to ask him. I don't want a Dolce Vita DV2 oversize. I want the original with the original box, even if it's used, and I'll keep looking. And when I find it, it's going to be the ultimate, for me anyway, Grail pen. There you have it. That's my pen haul, folks. I hope you enjoyed the 3-part series. Florence was a little slim in the pickings, so to speak, but still interesting, beautiful city. We, of course, after Rome, we visited many other cities, which were wonderful. I couldn't find really any fountain pen destinations of interest. There was Barcelona that I'm sure I could have found a fountain pen store, but we were there just a few hours. But here's a glimpse of maybe some of the highlights of each of the places. First of all, let's start with after Naples, we visited Messina. Here's a couple of pictures from Messina. Taormina, we see the Vesuvius in the distance, smoking at the present time. There you have it, that's Taormina. Our next visit was then Malta, and we went to see St. John, the St. John Cathedral, and the highlight of that cathedral was the beautiful collection of Caravaggio paintings they had. Here's a few pictures showing some of those paintings, especially the big one in the center there, which is the homage to the killing, if you will, or the slaughter of St. John the Baptist. Wonderful display. They had some interesting exposés on Caravaggio in that church. Beautiful church. From there, we went on to Cagliari in Sardinia. We chose to make it a beach day. Here's some shots of the beach in Sardinia. We went up to Palma, Mallorca. Well, Palma, Mallorca was dominated by my wife's turn, and we bought some beautiful pearls for her, of course, Mallorca pearls, and a beautiful city. Walked around, did some shopping at Palma, Mallorca. That took us to Barcelona, and the highlight of Barcelona, folks, was that beautiful cathedral, Sagrada Familia. I had been on the outside. I had visited the outside many times. Always was surprised that you needed tickets and you needed to book ahead to go inside. I wasn't expecting the crowds to be what they were. I planned for it, and here's a couple of pictures of the inside of that cathedral. Talk about colors. It just reminded me of my inks. And look, take a look at that. On one side, we see that green bluish tint. On the other side of the cathedral, we see that orange-red, greenish tint. Beautiful, just an absolutely gorgeous and unique church and destination. Of course, we walked around Barcelona and enjoyed the sights, many other sites, and many other Gaudio created architectural wonders. That was Barcelona. We then went on to Cannes. Here's a few pictures of the sea. Cannes, again, was for us a beach day. I had a wonderful meal at Cannes, and during my meal, I happened to photo or videotape just a gentleman in front of me who was doing some journaling. And what was he journaling with? With a Mont Blanc. Here's the picture, close-up of that Mont Blanc. Wasn't that a coincidence? I think he was on probably the same trip I was. And anyway, it looked like he was enjoying his journaling. So maybe we had something to share. I didn't touch up with the man. I didn't want to disturb him. He was with his family, but just goes to show you that maybe we're not the only ones out there. There you have it. So that was my trip. Thank you very much for joining me in these 3 episodes. I hope you enjoyed them. They were informative. They were a lot of fun to present to you as well. Very emotional periods of time. I will remember it and cherish it forever, folks. Stay tuned for my next reviews. We're back to reality, back to the grind. We got some Chinese pens, Indian pens, and more, and all these Grail pens to review for you individually, along with some of my other pen hauls during my the ultimate fountain pen vacation. Grazie molto. Arrivederci. Stay well. Be well. See you all soon.